While in Pittsburgh to report on the G20 and surrounding protests, Twin Cities Indymedia journalist Melissa Hill was arrested, had her camera broken, and her footage confiscated. This is her story.
My name is Melissa Hill, and I'm here as a reporter with Twin Cities Indymedia. Last night I was at Shinley Plaza area at the University of Pittsburgh. I was basically trying to cover some of the police presence I heard that was going on around there, just doing general coverage. There was a lot of students on campus, and I was just out there kind of filming and just watching what's going on. When I got there, it seemed to be, just a mix of people. I mean, there was just a lot of students. It's a very heavily populated area. People out there on Friday night, just generally kind of walking around wondering why we had there was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of riot cops and just different types of gear, which of course just brought people out right there just to see what was happening.
And about what time were you arrested?
I think I was arrested maybe a little past 11 o'clock-ish. I mean, I did lose a little bit of track of time because we had some situations earlier where the cops were starting to surround people a little bit, so it was a lot of pushing and moving us around. By the time I got arrested, I've already kind of walked up and was in the area where basically they kind of just arrested us all, surrounded us.
And how many, were there other journalists arrested?
Yeah, there was another journalist who had some credentials from the summit. I think he was from the Pittsburgh Tribune, if I remember right. I also think there may have been a student journalist who had some sort of credentials, and another Twin Cities, someone also working with Twin Cities Indymedia. And
did you try and talk yourself out of it with the cops? Did they did you show them your credentials and explain who you were?
Yeah, I did actually multiple times say I'm a journalist. I'm trying to cover this. That's basically what I told them. When I was initially arrested, I mean, before the arrest there was some issues. There was some some medics trying to help somebody. They were trying to move that people too quickly with this person who was injured. There were cops who were basically just pushing us really quickly towards that area, and I remember a couple of them kind of pointing rubber bullet guns right, really close proximity to people. I mean, the footage that I got, I think would hopefully have been very interesting perspective to see just kind of how scary it was out there. I mean, a lot of people, Pittsburgh's not the most easiest city to get around with, so it was very confusing in the night, in the dark, figure out where you were going, and they're just pushing people down into that area. I mean, at one point we were getting pushed over a fence or a bush. I should say it's actually some bushes. So people were being pushed through bushes to get into that area. So.
And was there how were you arrested? Did you say you're not resisting, and did they use force? And
when I was arrested, they didn't use any force personally on me. Basically, it was just you're under arrest. Everyone put your hands on the head or your ground, and then basically they made everybody lay on the ground. And at that time I still had my camera on, it was still recording, and they saw that, and they basically kind of kicked my camera a little bit away from me, and I kind of lost control, and they actually, if I remember right, they took my camera out of my hand, they took it from the ground, and that's when I think they may have taken the videotape out of it.
And so you were then taken to one of the jails in town?
Yes, I was.
And how long were you in jail for?
I was in jail probably for 4 to 5 hours through that booking process. I mean, there was a lot of, waiting. I also, when I was booked, had to sit in the back of a police car for 15 minutes for some reason, and then I ended up, going on a bus, and then you go to the booking process. The booking process included stuff like fingerprinting, which I haven't had done before, and it actually was the real scary part. There were military people basically watching over us down there.
So, was it National Guard who were manning the jail?
National Guard, some people with U.S. Army symbols on them, so I think different Army groups were in there. I mean, I'm not particularly that familiar with each of the symbols, so I couldn't offhand, but I know I saw U.S. Army too, so.
And were you questioned at all, or was it just pretty much a straight-through process?
There was some questioning. They were doing a lot of health questioning. I think was just they didn't have a health service up because there were some people who had blood running from their head because they were somehow injured, and so they had a little bit of a health clinic going on there too. So there was some basic health questioning, fingerprinting, identification process.
And after you were released, did you get your property back?
After I was released, I got all of my property except for that DVD video clip that came from my camera. Because my camera, when they took my camera away, I was basically separated from my camera for maybe, technically I was separated from my camera for 5 hours. I lost touch of where my camera was maybe about... initially after arrest, I could see it for a little bit, then we kind of moved around, and then I saw the cops take, basically grab my camera. I'm guessing that's probably when they took the DVD out, somewhere around then. But, after that, we were moved down the hill, so I didn't have any possession of my camera. We were moved towards the vans and police cars. Once again, I didn't have my camera. Eventually, one of the officers who helped with booking, I kept asking for my camera. Where's my camera? I kept asking this repeatedly at repeated times, a lot of times. And basically, that one officer was at least kind enough to go and find this. And I just sent a few identifying things about the camera, and they put it in with my evidence bag. So.
And what state was the camera returned to in?
It was hard for me to really see. There's some... When I was recording... right when we got arrested, and when I got it back, now it won't record anymore. There's obviously this chipped area right here, and this is a mini DVD camera, so it's very sensitive to, it won't move anymore, or it's moving incorrectly, so it's kind of ruined, or basically did big damage to the camera. And the screen had a little bit of a chip in the corner, but now the entire screen is pretty much completely smashed. If I turn it on, you can see that there's almost no... I used to be able to actually kind of see a few things, but now it's like everything is completely smashed in that screen. And there's also new markings here too,
and the DVD, the recordable DVD inside it was gone?
Yeah, that was the first thing I looked for when I got it back, and it was empty.
And what was on that DVD? Everything you took that night?
Yeah, pretty much. Everything that I took pretty much from, basically most of the stuff that had to do with anything with police and riot cops gearing up. Because I was taking a lot of footage in of them making their formations, of the riot cops, of the people moving around, of how they were forcing people to kind of jump over bushes, and all this stuff was basically on the DVD, how they got arrested, how they were being aggressive towards others. I mean, the stuff on the DVD kind of showed a perspective. There was not any legal observers up there at that time. And there, as I said, there were a few journalists that were arrested with me, but there wasn't the huge journalist presence that we've seen at other events during the G20. So, well, it was... I'm still kind of recovering right now and trying to put together everything. I am very outraged that they would have done something that like take that DVD. I mean, and just basically, I had a press pass on. I should note that I had a press pass just like this one, and the one that I have now was cut. They also cut my bag. Bag was also the strap to my bag was also cut. They had, for some reason, were cutting things. I mean, they were just, I don't know. It was completely outrageous. I mean, especially when you go and you're trying to cover things and they're not willing to accept, that fact that there are journalists there. They're trying to make sure that we're getting a story, and that not to sit here and, arrest, everyone. I mean, it was students, journalists, and everybody else, but, it was completely outrageous. Even people who had credentials weren't, weren't safe.